Hello, my name is Tom, and in this video I will solve SquareCells puzzle number 29. That's a big one. Let's mark all the group clues, which will take some time. I hope it's not too boring for you. Okay, I'm done. So now let's see what I can just do from the group clues. Okay, I have ones here. Group of one square only. Groups of one square. What else is here? Yes, this is a group of two connected squares. Can't touch the group of four connected squares. I can delete this square. Here's nothing. Here's a group of two connected squares. Can't touch the group of 12 connected squares. So I can delete this one. Now here, according to the corner rule, I can delete this square. And here I also can use the corner rule and delete this square. So now I can already complete this group of two connected squares like this. And this group of two connected squares like this. And let's quickly also use this clue here. Two connected squares at the beginning of the row. So these two have to be marked. The group of two connected squares is completed. So I can also delete these squares. But that's about it, I think. Yes. So let's start with the column clues here. I have three connected squares at the top. Easy peasy. Then I have one separate square at the top of this column. Let's delete this one here. Here, I think I can count. Wait, that's 3, 6, 8. Plus 3 gaps, that's 11 squares. I have 12 squares here, so I can at least mark some positions of the 3 connected squares. Let's count 1, 2, 3. This 3 connected squares, the highest position of it is here. So okay, we have a gap, 1 gap, 1 gap, 1, 2, 3. And if I count from this side, 1, 2, 3. Gap 1, gap 1, gap 1, 2, 3. So these two squares have to be part of these 3 connected squares, and these 2 squares have to be part of these 3 connected squares. Okay, can I count in this column too? 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, plus 1, 2, 3, 4 gaps, that totals to 11. And yes, I can count here too. 1, gap 1, gap 1, 2, gap 1, gap 1, 2, like this. And if I count from this side, as you will see, 1, 2, this is part of the bottom 2 connected squares. Gap 1, gap 1, 2, this is part of the center 2 connected squares in this column. Okay, well, not exactly the same thing applies because I have 1 square marked already in this column. So let's count. 1, gap 1, gap 1, 2. The 2 connected squares can't be here, so they can only be positioned here. That's the highest position of those 2 connected squares. Let's go on counting. Gap 1, gap 1, 2. I can complete this already, since this is the highest position of these 2 connected squares. They can't be here or here or here or here, as I showed before. These 2 clues, 1 and 2 connected squares, can only be here. I can delete the gaps, and the 2 connected squares have to be marked like this, therefore I can delete this gap too. Okay, here we have the same clue as in this column, so I can just duplicate the marked squares like this. Here we have a separate square at the beginning of the column. I can delete this square. And here we have 2 connected squares at the bottom of the column, so let's mark them like this. And yeah, let's count. 1, 2, 3, gap 1, gap 1, 2. Again, this is the highest position of the 2 connected squares, so if I count from this side, 1, 2, I will definitely need this square. So let's count furthermore. Let's count on 1, 2, gap 1, gap 1, 2, 3. These 2 squares are part of these connected 3 squares. Okay, can I do something with the group clues already? Yes, here. This group of 2 connected squares can't touch these squares, so let's delete them. And here, this group of 2 connected squares can't touch this group of 16 squares, and it can also not touch this group of 2 squares, so I can delete this square as well. 4, 12, 2. No, that's it for the time being. So let's look at the clues for the rows. Here I have 6 squares all in all, 2 more to put in, but I don't know where. Sorry. So now let's look at this row clue here. I have 1 square and 2 separate squares. That looks like I can't use it, but in fact I can use this clue here, the 2 connected squares, because they have to be at the end of the row, right? So let's see what happens if I put them here. It doesn't work because I have a group of 5 connected squares for 2 groups of 4 connected squares. So I can delete this square already. They also can't be repositioned here because I would end up with connecting a group of 4 and a group of 2 connected squares. So I can delete this one. And here I would have a group of 3 connected squares for a group of 2 connected squares only. So they also can't be positioned here. I can delete this square also. Now I can already complete the group of 2 connected squares like this. And the group of 4 connected squares can only be completed like this. Nice. Okay. We have 1 more square here in this row, but I don't know where. No, actually 2 squares also. It can be here. No, I don't know where to put anything, how to deduce anything more from this. Here we have 2 separate squares and 2 connected squares. They can be positioned anywhere, I think. Okay. So here in this row we only have separate squares. I can delete this square because this has to be separate. In this row I have 2 connected squares and 3 connected squares. Now there has to be a gap somewhere between those 2 squares, obviously, because this would end up in 5 connected squares already in the row. So this has to be a square of the 3 connected squares, which means the 3 connected squares can only be completed like this or like that, and the 2 connected squares can only be completed like this or like that. I can delete this square too. We have anything here now? No, I don't think so. Anything else with the group clues? No, so let's go back to the column clues. This one is completed. Here I have 1 and 2, but they can be positioned anywhere here. Here at the bottom of this column I have 3 connected squares, so I have to mark it like this. Here nothing changed from the last time I counted here. Okay, here I have also the 2 separate clues, the separate squares left. Also no change here to the last time I counted. What happened here? Nothing. Here, 1, 2, 3. No, I don't think so. And here, there's also nothing that changed. So, I'm sort of stuck. I completed all the clues here, and I can't do anything with these clues now. So I have to find a different way to move forward with this puzzle. And wait, let me check again. Did I miss something? No, I don't think so. So let's look at this corner here, especially at this group of 16 connected squares. Now, in order to complete this group of 16 connected squares, I have to move out of the section, because the section itself is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares. I can't even touch this because the group of 2 connected squares forbid that. So I need to mark those 2 squares for sure. I can possibly also mark this square, but I cannot mark this square because the group of 2 connected squares can't touch this here. So I can delete this one already, and I can already complete the group of 2 connected squares this way also, like this. But still I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, potentially 7 squares in this section, so I have to move even further into this direction. I have to mark this square also. So now I can look at this clue here, and I have 3 connected squares at the top of this column, so I can delete this square. Also, this group of 16 connected squares has to move into this direction. I can mark it, and here I will also end up with 3 connected squares at the top of this column, and that's exactly what I need, so I can delete this square. So now if I look at this row, I need 2 connected squares, and they can only be positioned here, so I can delete this square. Now these 2 squares have to be separate squares according to these 2 column clues here, because I have a max of 2, or I need 2 separate squares at the beginning of each of these columns, and I can only put 1 separate square here or here. There can't be another separate square in these 3 squares, because I have marked this one already. So this one has to be either this separate square or this separate square. So let's delete these squares here, and the same is true here. This one has to be a separate square. I can delete these. So now let's count the squares that I have marked already again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have potentially 2 more squares available here. How many do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 9 plus 4, they probably have to connect, would result in 13 squares. So I need 3 more squares, and I can only have them by marking 1 square here in this column, 1 square in this column, and I need this square also. So let's mark it, which completes this row here. So I can delete the remaining squares, and that also means that the group of 16 squares can only be completed like this. So now I completed the top section of this puzzle. Let's see what else we have. Let's look at the column clues again. We have 2 and 1 here. That is not helpful yet. We have 1 and 1. That's also not helpful yet. Here we have 1, 1, 3, 1 gap, 3. I still can't do anything else with this clue, and this clue also doesn't bring me anything yet. So let's look at this clue again. 1, 1, 2. I know that 1 separate square has to be here, 1 separate square is here somewhere, and the 2 separate squares are positioned here, but I don't yet know where in more detail. So let's look at this one. We have 1 separate square somewhere here. No, 2 separate squares, no. That also doesn't help. So here 2 squares, 3 squares, no. I also can't do anything with that clue, with that information. So what is it that I'm missing? Oh, I see now. Here in this row I missed this column here. I have 2 connected squares after this 1 separate square, so that has to be positioned like this. And this doesn't only complete this clue for the row, also the group of 4 connected squares is completed like this. Okay, so now let's look at this column here. We have 2 more separate squares that we need. They have to be positioned like this. And in this column I have 1, 1 and 3, and like in this column they can only be positioned like this. This square can be deleted. So now let's look at this row here. We have 1, 1, 1. 1 was marked already, and 2 connected squares. So these 2 have to be the separate squares, and this is part of the 2 connected squares. And in this row I only have separate squares, 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4 are marked of that already, so I can delete all of the remaining squares. Now looking at this row, I need 2 connected squares. They have to be positioned here. I can mark this one. And let's look in this column now. Yes, we need 2 and 1, and we have 2 and 1 here left only. This column is complete. This column can also be completed. I need 1 separate square and 2 connected squares. Here has to be the 1 separate square, so I can delete this one and put the 2 connected squares here. And here I need 2 connected squares and 1 separate square. Only by looking at this clue I can't move further here, so let's look at this one first. I also can't do anything with this one, no. So yeah, let's look at this clue again. We need 2 connected squares and 1 connected square, so I could position the 2 connected squares like this here, or like this, right? So let's see. Is this possible for the 2 connected squares? Let's count the group of 12 connected squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 here, even a connection to the group of 4 connected squares. So that's not possible. The 2 connected squares in this column have to be positioned here. Now, can I also know where the 1 separate square has to be positioned? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I need 1 more square, either here or here, or here. So I don't know where the separate square is, but I do know that it cannot be here. So let's delete this square. And in this row I need 3 connected squares. That can only be positioned like this, and this also completes the group of 4 connected squares. I can delete the touching squares. Now I can see that the group of 6 connected squares can only be completed like this. It can't be completed like this because here would be a forbidden connection. And it also can't be completed like this because of another forbidden connection. Wait, like this actually. So in fact it has to be like this. I can delete these 2 squares, which means the group of 12 connected squares can only be completed like this. And looking at this column now, I have all the 5 squares marked already that I have, so I can delete the remaining squares. And this clue in this row tells me that I have to mark this square too for the 2 connected squares. And according to this clue I know that this column only has 1 separate square in this position, so I can delete this square. So that means the 4 connected squares for this group can only be positioned like this. And the puzzle is not complete yet because I have 4 squares left on the board and I have 4 squares to remove, so let's delete them and complete the puzzle. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again in my next video when I will solve puzzle number 30. Bye!